Hi, it's Joni Michaels, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Joe Clark, host of Consider This Program. Joe's a certified financial planner and former professor at Purdue University. He's the managing partner for the Financial Enhancement Group. Joe's passion is teaching people about their money so they don't make inefficient financial decisions that lead to frustration and devastation. The Financial Enhancement Group serves more than 900 families in 31 states and manages more than $400 million. The Financial Enhancement Group takes care of people who don't want to worry about their money so they don't make inefficient financial decisions. Joe addresses your questions about money in 5 critical elements of finance: retirement planning, or what we like to call your life after work, tax planning, investment planning, life happens, the good, the bad, and the ugly of life, and legacy planning. The Financial Enhancement Group can be reached at 800-928-4001 or visit yourlifeafterwork.com. The Financial Enhancement Group is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through World Equity Group, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark.
And I'm Angie Kinzer.
Hey, we are going to do our best not to make light of a virus or not to deny the economic chaos that is taking place. But Angie has a list of some things, just a little bit of humor to try to lighten the spirit. So go ahead, Ange.
It's actually, this is the positive thing that comes out of something like this. And there was an article, they did a survey in the Vault and did an article on the top 10 things to do while quarantined. And so I've even heard you mention a few, because the number one thing was to exercise. It said YouTube has reported that there's a big influx of videos from yoga, Pilates, and dance cardio.
I'm on day 12 in a row of yoga as of this morning.
Okay. And number 2, starting a new TV series or podcast. I think everyone in the world has heard about the Tiger King by now, or Ozark, but it gave us a little extra time to do that or start a new podcast. Journaling. There's more time for reflection and gratitude, so journaling's up.
If you start your day, I will tell you, folks, if you start your day every day with writing down something that you're thankful for, it will make the rest of the chaos be better.
It changes everything.
It does.
Number 4 is social media education, because most people hadn't heard of Zoom, and now a lot of people know how to use it.
Zoom is now a verb.
Yeah.
So, Google did not used to be a verb. You now Google things, and you now Zoom things, right? I mean, that's how I do my training on yoga. It's my trainer, Krista, is on Zoom with me every morning, and we talk, and we talk more on Zoom than we did when I used to go to the gym.
Oh, wow. Well, one of the last ones is cook more, because you have a lot more time, too, to meal prep. Usually you're trying to slam that in on a Sunday night.
McCormick's is a spice company that you're very familiar with if you cook, and they've reported a surge in that kind of stuff. Now, we don't own McCormick's. We don't, I'm not telling you to buy the stock. I'm just telling you, it's interesting, the things that are taking place. We're going to spend some time today talking about the Secure Act, trying to get you ready to know what the CARE Act is and how it can help you. So join us, consider this program. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we will be right back and get into the show.
Hi, Joni Michaels here. We know you care about your money, but are you tired of worrying about it? The Financial Enhancement Group takes care of people just like you who don't want to worry about their money. As fiduciaries, the team at the Financial Enhancement Group will care for your nest egg just like they would care for their own if they were in your situation. There are many decisions you'll need to make as you face retirement, and the team at the Financial Enhancement Group is here to help you. Call 800-928-4001 or go to yourlifeafterwork.com to set up a time to meet. The confusion and complexity of retirement is almost as daunting as is the excitement of retirement. Don't let your fear and frustration of taxes and investing derail your retirement. Call the Financial Enhancement Group at 800-928-4001. They'll give you a complimentary second opinion on your strategy for retirement. Begin your adventure in your life after work. Call 800-928-4001 or yourlifeafterwork.com. Now back to Consider This Program with Joe Clark.
Hello, welcome to Consider This Program. I'm Joe Clark, the managing partner of the Financial Enhancement Group. We have a lot going on with a federal stimulus package right now known as the CARE Act, passed, depending on when you heard it, earlier in March. There have been some major changes, and I just have to tell you, it is phenomenal how quickly the government responded, both in the Federal Reserve side and in the government side in terms of getting legislation out. Now that said, whenever you get stuff out of Congress that quickly, there are going to be I's that aren't dotted, T's that aren't crossed. So there's going to be a lot of this that has to get amended as we go along the way. But I identified at least 16 different parts, or 16 different ways that this could impact a family member. And what I did is took our planning team and we kind of assigned different areas of it to different people. So on the phone with us today, we have Dean Huddleston. Dean is our lead advisor in the Lafayette, Indiana office. He's been with the Financial Enhancement Group for over 5 years. A big part of our practice, very, very influential, especially with Social Security. But Dean has taken on the task of helping you better understand the rules for borrowing money out of your IRAs and 401ks and distributions out of your 401ks that aren't really loans. So, Dean, welcome to the program.
Hi, Joe.
Glad to have you along, buddy. So I will give you the rope and you just take it and go where you want to go. You can either start with the loans or distributions. Pick one.
Well, let's talk about the distributions from your IRAs and your qualified retirement plans. Normally, under the rules prior to the new CARES Act, anybody who would make a withdrawal from a IRA or a qualified plan and was under the age of 59 and a half, not only would they have to pay tax on that distribution, they'd also have to pay a 10% penalty as an early withdrawal. So for 2020, that 10% penalty has been waived between January 1st of this year through December 31st of 2020. Now, we also have to remember, though, you can only withdraw a maximum out of your IRA or a qualified distribution plan or a combination of the two that equals $100,000 or less. So that's a really big deal.
It's a huge deal, folks, and one of the planning things that you need to keep in mind. That's why we say tax planning has to take place every year. Think about it. If your income has been disrupted this year, you're a business owner, you work for a company where your income's been disrupted and it's going to be a lot lower this year than what it would normally be. You want to take that money out of the IRA this year. And if not taking it out, if you don't need it, you may want to be doing a Roth conversion because your income is so much lower. So take advantage of those lower income brackets. So Dean, if I heard you right, that's $100,000 and it's the combination between IRAs and your 401k. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's the aggregate total between the two. The other part that moves along with that is normally when you take a disbursement from a defined plan, if you were not rolling it into an IRA or such and were receiving a check, normally 20% mandatory federal tax would have to be withheld. That is also being suspended at this time. So if you take that distribution, all of that money is coming to you during at the same time. No wait to have to file your taxes and get that large sum of tax that you paid on the distribution back.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to get money in the hands of people as quickly as they can. Now, I know I ask you this for, like, at the Financial Enhancement Group, for instance, our 401k plan does not allow for loans. So
correct.
How could you get a distribution out of our 401k if you needed it?
Yes, an in-service distribution is allowed during this time. So whether you have a loan or a don't have the distribution in service or not, it is allowed at this time. The other fabulous thing about it is the taxes. I mean, because it is taxable still, all these distributions, you have the ability to spread that tax burden over a 3-year period.
Wow. That's a big deal. That goes back to the late 90s when you were able to do the first Roth conversions and spread it over a couple of years.
Yeah, it's another huge deal.
You don't normally have that opportunity. So again, that's something to be able to pay attention to. Now, what would happen if I took the money out and I wanted to put it back in?
You can do that as well. There is a 3-year window that you can recontribute your dollars to the IRA or the plan, and you can do that tax-free. So it's another beautiful thing. take your time as the money flows in, be able to put that money back and get yourself whole again.
So you've got, as I recall when I read the legislation, and they may have changed it by now, it seems like you've got the ability to put money in, now, and then money in this year, and then you've got money to be the ability to put it back in 3 years. Is that how you recall it? Yeah.
That's correct.
So it's not like a payroll reduction where you can pay it back in over a 3-year period. You've got 3 years to get it back in, but you can only essentially make 2 installments.
Well, you can make installments to it yourself,
Okay.
outside of your employer plan, and or make 1 or 2 lump sums. It's totally up to you.
As somebody who has is the administrator of a 401k plan, ours, I can tell you that's going to be a complicated deal. But okay, so
Yeah,
those are
tracking it.
the distributions. So tell me about the loans.
Okay, so another big thing. In the past, if you wanted to make a loan out of your 401k, 403b, you were limited to 50% of the vested value with a maximum withdrawal of $50,000, no matter how much was in your plan. The new rules, because of COVID-19, says that you can have the amount of $100,000 or 100% of your vested balance, whichever's lower.
Okay, so you can't borrow money that you don't own. For
Correct.
instance, the employers aren't forced to let you do that, but you can get a.
But if you had $80,000 in your account, you could, and you're vested totally of $80,000, you could literally take it all.
Okay, that is going to be very, very, very important for people that we take care of, and for people that are listening to this. So you want to be thinking about your tax bracket this year, folks. There's going to be people out there that say, well, I don't want to take money out of my retirement account. I get that. I understand you don't want to take money out of your retirement, but this is an opportunity for you to be able to take money out at a lower tax bracket than what you normally would. I mean, even if you only took out, let's say you're married, you've got and you're over 50, you could take out $14,000, for instance, pay the taxes on it this year, and use that money, assuming you had earned income, to be able to contribute to 2 Roth IRAs. But you're going to want to pay attention to where your tax bracket is this year as you go. Dean, any final thoughts? Anything you want to add?
Another part of that is also normally the maximum repayment for a 401k loan is 5 years. That has been extended a year as well. So no payments through 2020 through December 31st, and then you have the normal 5-year repayment. So essentially, if you borrowed the money right now, and the loan has to occur after the CARES Act was enacted. So if you took a loan out in January, that's not going to qualify for this. But between the time, March 27th, between the time the CARES Act was enacted and December 31st, no repayment during this year, and then 5 years after that.
Perfect. Thank you, buddy. I really, really appreciate your insight and your wisdom. You're listening to Consider This Program. I'm the host, Joe Clark, along with Angie Kinzer. Thank you, Dean Huddleston, for being a part. We'll take a break and be right back.
Hi, Joni Michaels here. Joe's been hosting financial radio programs for over 20 years, and during his 7 years at Purdue, Joe developed the 5 critical elements. You see, there are 5 areas we all go through that can impact and even derail our retirement plans. YourLifeAfterWork.com has been focused on you on your retirement for over 20 years. You may have had a 401k as well as IRAs. Those are all defined contribution plans. Consider This program is about your defined contribution plans becoming defined distributions. You see, we all exit. You'll either take money out of those retirement plans when you decide or when the IRS decides, or your heirs will have to deal with the situation, but we all exit. I encourage you to call 800-928-4001 to meet with one of the talented financial advisors at the Financial Enhancement Group. I've listened to this show for years, and what Joe says just makes sense. Don't you think it's time for you to call 800-928-4001, YourLifeAfterWork.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark. In studio with me today, we have Darren Hardesty. Darren is one of our associate advisors out of the Anderson office. As I said in the intro and here, There has been a phenomenal amount of stimulus that has been added by the Federal Reserve that was necessary, and as well by Congress, where they're trying to get money in the hands of people. Darren and Dean and Jamie and Chris were all assigned the task of going out and kind of breaking this bill apart to figure out how it impacted our families. Darren, being a former school teacher for 14 years in math, was assigned the student debt relief part. So, Darren, I'll let you go ahead. Welcome to the show, first of all.
Oh, thanks, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
And go ahead and take it away. You know what you want to say.
Okay. Well, after reading through all the documentation and some of the summaries from what we have seen in the CARES Act, it's pretty clear that the spirit of this provision of the CARES Act for student loan borrowers is to make sure that their situation is no worse than what it was before the shutdowns all began. And so as we go through some of the details, it's pretty clear that our government has tried their best to make sure that anybody with student loans, one of the 44 million Americans with student loans, that hopefully they can come out of this whole ordeal no worse off than what they were. So starting out, the main group of people who are going to benefit from this is anybody with a federal student loan. And so the big thing that everybody needs to do is not just assume that their student loans, just because they have a student loan, that they're going to qualify. They should call their loan provider, go to their loan provider's website. Everybody is very much aware, all of the lenders are very much aware of this taking place right now. So call your provider and make sure that your forbearance for this 6-month period is set up. A lot of the accounts that we've heard, some are automatically being set up, but some are not. So it's really important that everybody calls their loan provider to make sure that that's set up.
Yeah, so you can't just assume that it's going to be, just because you're eligible for it doesn't mean you can not just pay the bill. You've got to keep writing the checks.
That's exactly right.
Or call and tell them that you want to enact the program.
That's exactly right. And Joe, part of my student loan debt that I still hold is federal. I went and checked that out, and actually I don't qualify. The education department does not own my loan anymore. And because of that, I don't qualify for this benefit. But before I called, I would have thought, well, I got a federal loan and everything will be taken care of. Well, take it from me. Make sure you call them and find out. A lot of people have what's called a Perkins loan or a federal family education loan. They look like they're owned by the federal government, but they are not. Also, private loans do not qualify. But still, if you want to call your provider, if you need any kind of hardship forbearance, most loan providers right now are providing some hardship forbearance. That doesn't mean that the interest will not accrue during that forbearance, but if you need help with that, that is something that you may qualify for.
Probably also doesn't mean that it won't impact your credit, because if you're, when the government institutes something, there would be no credit impact on a federal loan, but you might have a ding on your credit if you try to renegotiate or delay. I can't tell you that for sure, but I can tell you that happens when you renegotiate credit card debt. If you call your credit card company, for instance, right now and try to get a lower interest rate, that does not go against your credit score. If you try to change the amount of your minimum monthly payment or the amount that you owe, that does. And my guess is that would be the same on student debt.
And those are all great questions to ask if you're in that position. If you don't need the hardship forbearance for any of these loans that don't qualify, if you feel safe that you don't need to, I would continue to keep moving forward with those. So what does the relief look like? It essentially there's 6 months of relief. The bill was passed on March 27th, so the 6 months are going all the way up to September 30th. During those 6 months, no interest is going to accrue on any of these loans, any of your federal loans, but you can still make interest-free payments, and I'll get to that later on. This is not a definite, hey, you cannot make payments. If you want to continue to make payments, you can, but they will be interest-free, which is always a good thing. Also, this will count towards any loan forgiveness programs that you're attempting to qualify for. Public service loan forgiveness program is probably the most popular. I could go on a long tangent about why that is not your best plan to try to qualify for that loan forgiveness program, but still, this will count towards that. These 6 months will count as on-time payments for that program. Also, if you've had trouble making payments and you're in a current loan rehabilitation program, this will qualify towards making those payments as well. So if you're somebody who's been struggling to make payments on time and you've been working through this rehabilitation program to get your credit back where it needs to be, these 6 months will count towards that. Involuntary debt collection. So if you're behind, if your loan is to the point where the government's taking money out of your bank account to make these payments, this is also going to be suspended during this time. So again, like I said, the spirit of this is to make sure anybody who has student loans, they're not going to come out of this worse off. In fact, a lot of people might come out of it better off because of these rules that they've thrown in. One cool thing about this, and this is something that everybody should pay attention to, because the bill was passed on March 27th, the relief start date has now been retroactive to March 13th for these student loans. So many people make payments at the end of the month. If you are one of those people who has made a payment on or after March 13th, you can call your provider and get a refund, which means that essentially if you're one of those people, you actually get 7 months of relief rather than 6. So that was something that I think could really benefit a lot of people, and they should pay attention to that.
But you do have to make sure you call your person and
Absolutely.
your provider. So I will tell you, as the daddy in me, I have 2 daughters, one who's still in college, nursing school. The deal here is when you get relief to pay a bill, it's no different than thinking about retirement. The last thing you want to do is get used to spending the money. Right, so if you've got a $300 or $400 a month bill that you can waive for 6 months at an interest-free, which is obviously a great benefit for people, don't get used to spending that $400 or $500 if you still have it. Right, use it to fund a Roth IRA, use it to pay down debt. Do not use it to be going out to eat or paying some other bill, or you will create a problem for you when you look at your standard of living and the life that you have to go back to when we get out of this crisis.
Absolutely. And that actually leads me into the next phase as far as what would we suggest that you can do with this savings if you're somebody who qualifies. So I'm a math teacher, former math teacher, so I had to do some arithmetic, Joe.
Yeah.
So apologize for me on this, but roughly the average student loan debt in our country is about $37,000 at about 5.5% interest. So roughly, when you look that out, it looks like about $400 a month, or about $2,400 over the 6-month period for the average person with a student loan. That's also about $1,100 in interest that will not be accrued during this 6 months. So based off those numbers, about $2,400, there's what I could find 5 good options. The first one, this is a stimulus bill, so you could go spend that money. But like you said, don't get used to spending it. This could be the time that if you wanted to, you could save this money up or use this money towards something you haven't been able to afford, and just use this as an opportunity to stimulate the economy with that money. Another thing is to invest it, and the Roth IRA would be a great place to put that right now. If you have no other good reason to use this money, investing it, if you want to think long-term or maybe even short-term, putting it into a Roth IRA might make a lot of sense for you.
I'm going to have to pause you there. We're going to have to go to another segment to be able to get this in. It's good stuff, Darren. Glad you're with us. You're listening to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark. We'll take a break and be right back.
Hi, Joni Michaels here. We know you care about your money, but are you tired of worrying about it? The Financial Enhancement Group takes care of people just like you who don't want to worry about their money. As fiduciaries, the team at the Financial Enhancement Group will care for your nest egg just like they would care for their own if they were in your situation. There are many decisions you'll need to make as you face retirement, and the team at the Financial Enhancement Group is here to help you. Call 800-928-4001 or go to yourlifeafterwork.com to set up a time to meet. The confusion and complexity of retirement is almost as daunting as is the excitement of retirement. Don't let your fear and frustration of taxes and investing derail your retirement. Call the Financial Enhancement Group at 800-928-4001. They'll give you a complimentary second opinion on your strategy for retirement. Begin your adventure in your life after work. Call 800-928-4001 or yourlifeafterwork.com. Now back to Consider This Program with Joe Clark.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark. This is a new world we live in with our social distancing. I'm in a vacated building that usually has people running around and all sorts of noises. Darren has joined us. Hardesty is one of our associate advisors, has joined us over the phone. We are, like many people, functioning fully remotely in order to be able to get stuff done. So apologize if the sound is not as perfect as it is. We are doing our best to get information out to you on the stimulus package. The government really worked hard to get the programs put together. There are I's that were not dotted, T's that were not crossed, but the speed at with which they got it out, we have to extend them a little bit of grace and understanding in getting that done. It was really an amazing thing. And we're not going to be able to cover all of the stuff, the unemployment benefits that are there. There's about 16 different items that I've identified that are able to help take care of you. And if you want to know more about this for you specifically, don't forget two things. One, you can always call Angie at 800-928-4001 to get signed up for a Next Steps meeting. In that meeting, we're going to do three things. We're going to give you the things that we will do for you if you, the things that you need to consider today, things that you are going to want to consider tomorrow, and if we choose to partner together, we're going to give you things that FEG will do for you. And like I said, that's the Next Step meeting. Sorry, it's on those phone stuff, you can't keep people from calling in when you're talking to somebody else on the phone. So Darren, I apologize for the beeps. Anyhow, let's go ahead and you were giving us 5 great things to do right now with the student loan. If you call your provider and you have debt forgiveness, you've got the first part was being able to have money if you had to have it. Just don't get used to spending it. The second one you said was to be able to fund a Roth IRA. That's a good one. All right, what are the next 3?
Okay, the next 3 would start with just saving it and putting it towards an emergency fund. If this whole crisis has taught a lot of people anything, is the value of having a 3 to 6 month or more emergency fund in the bank to provide some relief. If you were somebody who'd been laid off and you didn't need to file for unemployment, or you didn't need to take a drastic measure of some kind, and having an emergency fund for times like these, hopefully we never have anything like this again. But that's obviously a good idea as well, to put that money back, take advantage of the saving opportunity and do that. The next thing is, if you are wanting to continue your payments, this is a great chance to pay off the principal on your debt. Like I said in the first segment, this is roughly $1,100 in interest saved for the average student loan holder. So if you're able to pay an additional $1,100 down that you would have taken another 6 to 12 months to actually pay that amount on the principal, this is another really good option. This next one, I have to give credit to Chris Rogers. We were going through some of these ideas together, but one of the things you could do is kind of a combination of saving and paying down the debt. And that would be to pile up the money for 6 months, just stick it in the bank account and just keep it there. And at the end of the 6 months, if there's no other pressing need, you could just take that money out and make one lump sum payment on the debt at that time. Just make sure you do that before the September 30th deadline to make sure that money goes in without interest. So these are just some things we considered. The best thing to do is just to pay attention to that money and make sure you know that, hey, you've got some extra cash coming in every month. Make sure you're doing something responsible with it. And whatever situation you're in, one of these 5 options would I think, make a lot of sense.
And you said this in the previous part of the show, but I just want to reiterate it. You cannot, even though this forbearance is provided by the federal program, one, you still have to call your provider to get it, and two, let's go into this just for a second, because I think a lot of people miss that. You originally, when you went to school, got a federal loan and assumed you had a federal loan, but have found out that it got sold off.
Correct. It's been many years since that loan was taken out. I don't know all the details as far as who bought it and sold it over the last 15 years since I've been in college. But yeah, it's been through Nelnet, which is one of the largest providers of federal student loans in terms of where people go to pay off those loans. So going into Nelnet, I was expecting to go on there and say, hey, look, I'm going to qualify, and I was going to just see some of the details to kind of help with my research, only to find out that my loan is not owned by the education department, and therefore I didn't qualify. So please call into your providers, go to the websites. All of these providers are very much aware of this bill, and they should have very easily accessed information for whether or not you qualify.
Perfect. Well, buddy, that is very, very, very helpful stuff. I can't overemphasize enough, though, that if you're not making the payments, do not get used to spending the money. You know, when we talk to people about retirement, what Darren would tell you, what I would tell you, what our team would tell you is that it's not about replacing your income when you go to retire. It's about replacing your standard of living. And you know, this and the student forgiveness, the student loan forgiveness right now or delay is not about standard of living. But if all of a sudden you've got extra money in your bank account that you're used to, that's used to going toward a debt, and suddenly you get used to having that extra money, an extra $50 in your purse or your billfold, you know, and you're going out to eat on it or you're doing something with it, you will wreck your standard of living when we get back to going back to the normal way of life. I mean, those loans do have to be paid back at some point in time. This is not a forgiveness of the debt. It's just a delay. And the other thing that I would tell you is, I know, Darren, you said this is a 6-month, you know, could be a 7-month if you did it, if you were really Johnny on the spot, I guess. But, you know, it's a 6-month forgiveness. I get that. I will tell you the government is all in on this deal. And if the economy is not back to where they think it needs to be in 6 months, it would not shock me at all to see this get extended again. They're already working on another stimulus package in Congress right now. This one will probably be a little more muddied and more political. But this first one that came out, it's just, I have been very, very impressed with the speed with which they were able to get everything done. So, buddy, I greatly appreciate you joining us today by the teleconference and our social distancing. It's you and a few others. There's 29 people on the team at the Financial Enhancement Group, and those of you who've listened to this radio show for a long time know that I started 2 weeks before the crash in '87. So Mr. Hardesty here on the phone with us and a couple others are going to be able to have this story to be able to tell forever, that they started their financial careers in the middle of, right before an economic crisis. And, it's this you will remember this forever, Darren.
You mean this isn't normal?
No, this is that's what I said when the market fell 23% in a day back in '87. I said, well, you told me it was volatile, right? And how did I know? And we are in crazy times, buddy. But I appreciate you doing the research. Great job getting it done. If anybody wants to talk to Darren more about this, it's 800-928-4001. You can call in, and Angie get set up for a next steps meeting. Darren is more than happy to help you. Friends, we appreciate you joining us. We need to take a break. We will get right back at it. Again, it's 800-928-4001.
Hi, Joni Michaels here. Joe's been hosting financial radio programs for over 20 years, and during his 7 years at Purdue, Joe developed the 5 critical elements. You see, there are 5 areas we all go through that can impact and even derail our retirement plans. YourLifeAfterWork.com has been focused on you on your retirement for over 20 years. You may have had a 401k as well as IRAs. Those are all defined contribution plans. Consider this program is about your defined contribution plans becoming defined distributions. You see, we all exit. You'll either take money out of those retirement plans when you decide or when the IRS decides, or your heirs will have to deal with the situation, but we all exit. I encourage you to call 800-928-4001 to meet with one of the talented financial advisors at the Financial Enhancement Group. I've listened to this show for years, and what Joe says just makes sense. Don't you think it's time for you to call 800-928-4001, YourLifeAfterWork.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Good morning and welcome back to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark. On the line with me, we have Jamie Burton, one of our financial planners up in the Lafayette office. As you know, we're covering all of the stuff on, or some of the stuff on the Secure Act the CARE Act that just came out of the federal stimulus program on March 27th. Jamie was given the responsibility of probably taking on the most complex part. It's the payroll protection program. So Jamie, I'll just let you go ahead and get started explaining what that is and what it means for people.
Sure. So the payroll protection program was put in because what they're wanting to do is make sure that small businesses can stay open and keep their employees and be able to still pay their employees. What a lot of the small businesses are finding is that they're not making money right now, so it's hard to keep the employees on. So this is helping them keep their employees, keep them paid, keep the businesses open, and get through this hard time. So what this is, it's for small businesses with less than 500 employees, and what they can do is they can apply for a loan, and what they figure out is their average monthly payroll cost, and this loan will give them 2.5 times that average monthly payroll cost, so they can continue to pay their employees.
So you've used the word loan twice, but what's really exciting for people is it's a forgivable loan, right?
It is, yes. So there's a list of different things that this loan can be used for. Payroll is just one of them. They can also use it to pay for group health insurance premiums, salaries, rent, and mortgage towards their businesses, as long as they were already paying rent towards them, utilities, and other business interests. As long as it's used towards the list of things that this loan's allowed to go towards, it's 100% forgivable.
And what if they don't use it for those things?
If they don't use it for those things, then they have 6 months before they have to start paying this loan back. And when they do, it has a 1% interest rate.
Paid back over how long?
Over 2 years.
Yeah. And so here's the skinny on this. Of all the stuff in the legislation, the one that is the most confusing, that has most people's hair standing up on the back of their neck, including the bankers. That old joke about banker's hours. My banker was actually working. Greg Bramwell was at Star Financial on Sunday, working on this stuff for people because it was important to get it out. But it is the applications have changed, the rules have changed, just in the short period of time that it's actually been into existence. So it is hard to figure it out. But Jamie, I think you did a really very good job of summarizing it for what you need to know. If you're a business owner, I would love to tell you that you could call Jamie and get clarification on this. But what you really need to do is start with your bank. And the sad part about this that we're finding, there's a bank in Anderson that didn't even start taking applications, a big bank that didn't even start taking applications until Monday. The week after you could start, and there's word on the street that one of the 5 major banks in the country has already stopped taking applications. So if you didn't already have a business relationship set up with a bank, you may be kind of just out there in the cold right now, which is kind of frustrating.
It is, yeah, and this is one thing too. I put together a list of questions and answers to each one, and I put that together last Wednesday, and I've already had to change it multiple times because new things keep coming out, or they've changed the interest rate and that sort of thing. So this is a ever-changing thing that we just have to make sure to keep on top of, so we're giving everyone the right information.
It won't be ever changing, but it will be here for a little while while they're trying to get some of this stuff figured out. But I think I read the legislation over the first weekend when it came out, the 800 pages, and I will tell you I'm still a little drained, probably from trying to read it. Their legislation is rarely written in English. Mm-hmm. They may use English words, but the way they twist them together is a whole different story. So I'm happy to have you on here. But you said something I used to tell you when I taught at Purdue. Jamie, by the way, was one of the students that graduated with a degree in financial planning from Purdue, and I was happy and fortunate enough to be her professor her senior year. And I taught 14 semesters, and there wasn't one time in 14 semesters where I didn't have to correct myself. Mm-hmm. And it was just like you said, it was not because I was wrong, it was because something changed. But when you look at the complexity of the financial world, whether it be in taxes or investing or estate planning, in retirement policies or the Secure Act, there's so many things that can change, and it's so easy to hear something once and believe that you have it down without mm-hmm. recognizing those changes take place.
Right.
So, yeah. Go ahead. Anything else you want to add to this to finish up?
Just there's a lot of different caveats to it. So I would definitely start by talking to your banker, talk to them, see if you're qualified, see what all you need to get applied for this loan, and go from there, because there's just a lot of different things that go into it.
Right. So if I will always tell you that you guys can call Angie at any time at 800-928-4001 to get signed up for a Next Steps meeting. And in that Next Steps meeting, Jamie or Chris or Darren or whoever it's going to be are going to go through three things with you. The first thing they're going to do is tell you the things you ought to consider today. Secondly, they're going to give you things you want to consider in your future. And then the third is, if we choose to partner together, the things that we'll do for you here at the Financial Enhancement Group. So it's 800-928-4001. And I would love to tell you, if you had questions about this program, to call Jamie, to ask her. But what you really have to start with in this case is your banker. Your banker and your CPA are the two that are going to come into a critical part of this. And Jamie, it's we've already talked to a couple business owners who've had accounts at credit unions and places like that really don't have. They're not banking related. They're not business banking relationships. They're just checking accounts, right? They're account, and they're not. Nobody's filling out the paperwork for them or the loans. Mm-hmm. And right. I'm worried about small businesses that have never had a business account or a banking relationship that could really use these loans that just have no ability to get them. So, I applaud the government for working so quickly to get the stimulus package out, even though there's some I's not dotted, T's not crossed. I get that. But I give them a little bit of grace and understanding, knowing how quickly they got it out. But I really appreciate you taking the time to figure this out and the things that you do to help people.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
All right. With that, you have a good day up in your neck of the woods. So I'm socially distant down here in Anderson, and I will talk to you soon, Jamie. Thank you.
That sounds good. Thank you, Joe.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
So you're listening to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark. We have been that was Jamie Burton. Some of you will remember her name as Jamie Hanna back in the days up in Benton County, up by Lafayette. Here's the deal. This Secure Act was a big deal, and it created a lot of stress for a lot of people because it came about so quick, and there's so much money on the line. You're talking about $390 billion they're trying to squeeze out inside of those PPE loans by themselves. And so people are nervous, they're antsy. Try to breathe, try to relax. We will get this done. Hey, give Angie a call, 800-928-4001. Get signed up for a Next Steps meeting. 800-928-4001. We'll take a break and be right back.
Hi, Joni Michaels here. We know you care about your money, but are you tired of worrying about it? The Financial Enhancement Group takes care of people just like you who don't want to worry about their money. As fiduciaries, the team at the Financial Enhancement Group will care for your nest egg just like they would care for their own if they were in your situation. There are many decisions you'll need to make as you face retirement, and the team at the Financial Enhancement Group is here to help you. Call 800-928-4001 or go to yourlifeafterwork.com to set up a time to meet. The The confusion and complexity of retirement is almost as daunting as is the excitement of retirement. Don't let your fear and frustration of taxes and investing derail your retirement. Call the Financial Enhancement Group at 800-928-4001. They'll give you a complimentary second opinion on your strategy for retirement. Begin your adventure in your life after work. Call 800-928-4001 or yourlifeafterwork.com. Now back to Consider This program with Joe Clark.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Consider This program. I'm your host, Joe Clark. I should say online with me, we don't have anybody in studio, is Chris Rogers. Chris is one of our associate advisors here in the Anderson and as well as our Fisher's office, working on the CARE Act. And Chris, you have been given the opportunity to discuss the changes to required minimum distributions for this year. So I will welcome you to the show first and foremost, and second, just let you take it from there.
Yes, thank you very much, Joe. It's an honor to be on your show with you and to be able to walk through some different changes that are happening. It seems like there's new changes going on almost every couple months now. So I'm really just going to try to talk about the required minimum distribution and how those have changed through the CARES Act that was recently passed a couple weeks ago. So the biggest thing to note is that RMDs have been waived for 2020. And so a lot of people will ask, well, does that include me? So essentially that includes anybody who has a defined contribution plan. So think of those as your IRAs, your inherited IRAs, your 401k, your 403b, and your 457b. Really, the biggest things that are excluded are the Roth IRAs. Those don't really apply to essentially this plan that was passed. A lot of people are asking, well, Chris, should we go ahead and be taking our RMD anyway? And no. So from our standpoint, we are firmly believing that you should not be taking that RMD because there are some great planning techniques that we have in store for those people that normally do have to take RMDs. So biggest question that we get is, Chris, well, what if I haven't taken my 2019 RMD yet? So for people who have procrastinated, maybe sometimes kind of like myself, I'm the type of guy who likes to get out of bed at the last second, get ready at the last second. Well, you actually benefited from this in a great way. So for people who were delaying their 2019 RMD until having to take it at the very last second for 2020 on April 1st, well, the great news is that 2019 RMD has also been delayed and has been waived for this year as well. So procrastination paid off a little bit there for you. So you would not have to take that RMD for this year or for the 2019. Other questions that we're getting are, well, I need to make this RMD up. As of right now, under the CARES Act, that's not the case. They have essentially just stopped RMDs for 2020, and they will resume again in 2021 as long as things don't change over time.
What if I already took my RMD for the year?
That is a great question, Joe. And unfortunately, the early bird doesn't get the worm here, unfortunately. However, if you did take your RMD this year and you were somehow affected by COVID-19, the law actually, depending on how you're affected by it, how the law describes, you may actually qualify to have those funds paid back into your IRA, but that's something that you'll want to make sure that you consult your financial planner about, because there is a particular language and guidelines as the law describes of how you are affected by COVID.
So one more of those things in this act where, very similar to the student debt, where one would appear that they would be able to get the forbearance, you don't get it if it's not a quote-unquote federal student loan. This is another case where you may hear somebody say something about being able to put your RMD back in that is not accurate, so be very, very careful with that.
Yes, absolutely.
What else do people need to consider with what's going on right now, Chris?
Well, the biggest thing is, we're getting people asking, well, how does this actually benefit me? So I'm going to give you guys just a couple things to kind of consider for today and for the future for the rest of this year. So really the thing that you should be considering doing is if you, say you were usually having to take that RMD and you don't have to this year, so what should I do? So this allows good financial planning for if your planner is looking out for things like that, to be able to convert additional money from your IRA to your Roth IRA. So doing higher Roth conversions for this year is a thing that you definitely want to consider doing, because essentially, having to take that RMD, that is essentially taking away a larger benefit to be able to convert over to your Roth account. So if you don't convert any money, this essentially just allows you to pay less income tax over this year. But really, this is a great benefit to allow us to plan efficiently and to convert more money from your IRA into your Roth this year.
Which is going to be critical for you going forward. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make that are already at RMD age is that they didn't have the opportunity to build Roth income while they were working, or not a lot of Roth money. So this is critical. Go ahead, Chris. I didn't mean to stop you.
No, absolutely. No, that's great stuff, Joe. And really, the last thing that I really do like that another good thing, another good benefit from the passing or the waiving of these RMDs for this year is that it prevents you from being forced to take money out of the market at a lower point. We've had such a quick drop in the overall market. We talk a lot about, in our meetings, when you take money out of your accounts, when the market goes down, those dollars don't get an opportunity to grow back up the same as if you were able to leave that money there and not have to take that money out. That money has the chance to grow back up as the market rebounds over time. So, I think it's a great move to be able to pass this. It allows great planning as long as you have a fiduciary who's looking out for your best interests. And again, to be able to not have to take money out of the market when it's down is a great opportunity.
Yeah, we talked about it, and Chris and I help people understand in their next steps meeting that you go through 3 phases of finance. You go through a period of time that we call accumulation, a period of time of preservation. That's when you're not using your money. But when you go into distribution, and required minimum distributions are that forced distribution. It's IRS driven. The 2 biggest risks that you have are the tax rate you pay on your average dollar, and then the second is the volatility between those distribution points. And that volatility is what you're seeing right now. I will tell you, Chris, in an average year, you heard me say this when you started at the Financial Enhancement Group, there's nothing that I see separate people from their retirement like the Internal Revenue Service. And that's on a normal year, not understanding your taxes. This is no different. But there's also something else that's here, and that's in a few crises that I've seen in my career. It's when people make emotional decisions where they react to something that's happened in a marketplace as opposed to respond with discipline. So I hope they can take this information that you gave them and use it to make wise decisions. I would encourage you to call Angie at 800-928-4001. Get signed up for a Next Steps meeting with Chris. It's real simple. He's going to spend 90 minutes with you, tell you things you need to consider today, things you're going to want to consider in your future, and if we choose to partner together, what the Financial Enhancement Group will do for you.
Hi, Joni Michaels here. Joe's been hosting financial radio programs for over 20 years, and during his 7 years at Purdue, Joe developed the 5 critical elements. You see, there are 5 areas we all go through that can impact and even derail our retirement plans. YourLifeAfterWork.com has been focused on you on your retirement for over 20 years. You may have had a 401k as well as IRAs. Those are all defined contribution plans. Consider this program is about your defined contribution plans becoming defined distributions. You see, we all exit. You'll either take money out of those retirement plans when you decide or when the IRS decides, or your heirs will have to deal with the situation, but we all exit. I encourage you to call 800-928-4001 to meet with one of the talented financial advisors at the Financial Enhancement Group. I've listened to this show for years, and what Joe says just makes sense. Don't you think it's time for you to call 800-928-4001, YourLifeAfterWork.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Well, good morning and welcome to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark.
And I'm Angie Kinzer.
Happy Holy Week.
Hello.
It's hard to imagine that we have Good Friday and socially distant Easter coming up on Sunday, but anyhow, I hope you are able to spend the time with your family in the way that you would normally be able to do it. But Angie, happy to have you at the show. we are taking a deep dive on the Secure Act, the CARE Act that was passed, the stimulus program that came out March 27th of 2020. It's huge. It's massive. You're going to hear from Darren Hardesty, one of our associate advisors, from Jamie Burton, one of our advisors in Lafayette, from Dean Huddleston, another advisor in Lafayette. And do not forget to go to Financial Enhancement Group, our Facebook page. There's Financial Tidbits. That is a group that is on there. There's about 1,000 of you that have already signed up that we communicate with on a regular basis throughout the week on things that are going on, and you'll be able to find more there if you want to go there. So, Angie.
Well, since you mentioned Holy Week, I will, I always try to get some fun facts. So I got some about Easter because tomorrow, your tomorrow, will be Easter on April 12th. And so I got a few facts, and one of them has to do with the pink supermoon we had last night.
It was awesome. We're recording this on Wednesday, by the way, because it goes out. If you don't know it, we are on about 30 different stations across the country, some on Wednesday, some on Sunday, some on Saturday. So if it sounds confusing, it's because it can be. So
yes.
Tuesday night, there was one of the most awesome moons that I've ever seen in my entire life. And you called it a what moon?
It's a supermoon.
Okay.
And it was actually a pink supermoon, which only occurs rarely, and that is the brightest full moon we'll have in 2020. But what I didn't know is that Easter is always the first Sunday after the full moon, which is the spring equinox. So
it is, and there's been many debates on when Easter actually took place with several different Christian churches because of how that falls and how Passover falls and everything else.
Well, some of the fun facts were the egg became a symbol because it represents new birth. Easter baskets were designed to look like bird nests. So, and then I thought this was really funny. The Easter egg hunt. It was actually introduced in medieval times. And what it is the priest would toss a boiled egg to one of the choir boys. Then they would pass it amongst themselves until the bell struck 12, and then whoever was holding the egg got to keep it, which was a big deal. So that's how Easter egg hunts began. Of course, here in the United States, they started on the White House lawn.
Absolutely. Interesting stuff, Ange. Hey, we're not making light at all of the times that we are in with the virus, the issues that are going on. We try to have as much fun on the show as we can. This is serious stuff, and people need, not a lot of, I don't have anything to provide in the healthcare side, but we are going to try to give you some financial stuff to help you get through this. Do not forget, you can call Angie, get signed up for a Next Steps meeting. We have families in 30 states, so we have not missed a beat. We're fully digital and able to have those meetings. So you can give Angie a call at 800-928-4001. Get signed up for a Next Steps meeting. Very, very simple. We're going to sit down with you for 90 minutes, and we'll give you things that you need to consider financially today, things you need to consider in your future, and if we choose to partner together, what it is we can do for you at the Financial Enhancement Group.
You've been listening to Consider This Program with Joe Clark. As a certified financial planner, former professor at Purdue University, and with 31 years of experience helping families just like you eliminate the fear and confusion of retirement, Joe's team has the answers to your questions. Go to yourlifeafterwork.com or call 800-928-4001 and find a time to meet with the Financial Enhancement Group. There's nothing that will separate you from your retirement as fast as the IRS. There are many questions that can be answered at the Financial Enhancement Group. Questions like when to take Social Security, how will my 401k be taxed? These questions are just the tip of the iceberg, and you need to be asking these questions now before it's too late. The Financial Enhancement Group has offices in Anderson, Fishers, and Lafayette, Indiana, but they also take care of families in 30 other states. You care about your retirement, you don't want to worry about your money? Then the Financial Enhancement Group is right for you. As fiduciaries, they are required by law to treat your money as if it were their own, and they were in the same situation. Call 800